The first speaker on my list is distinguished Acting Minister for Foreign Affairs of Afghanistan, to whom I give the floor.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Mr. President, at the outset I wish to congratulate you for your assumption of the Council's presidency for the month of April. We are sure that your broad knowledge of international issues, as well as your diplomatic skill, will contribute to the successful conduct of the Security Council during the month of April. I would also like to take this opportunity and pay tribute to the outgoing President. Mr. President, distinguished members of the Council, I sincerely thank you for convening this special meeting on the current situation in Afghanistan. The last 2 decades have witnessed Afghanistan to be an issue of concern for the world. Each year, it seems that new dimensions are added to the protracted annihilating conflict in our country, the land of perilous events and critical circumstances. The desire of the Afghan nation for a durable peace is fading away, with military interventions and corporate interests acting as peace obstacles rather than catalysts. We believe if the Afghan problem is not dealt with sincerity and caution, Afghanistan will present the world with serious dangers and subsequent ramifications. It is therefore incumbent upon the distinguished members of the Council to note the disastrous destabilizing effects that the turmoil in Afghanistan can potentially spill over. For all the good reasons that the United Nations strives, I'm quite confident that a political solution can be found for Afghanistan. Let us all contribute to that solution. Mr. President, respect to independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of countries are recognized principles of the United Nations Charter and other international conventions. This requires all countries to refrain in their international relations from any kind of interference and intervention in the internal affairs of other states, and base their relations with others on the renowned guidelines of equality of states and mutual respect. Likewise, recruiting, arming, training, and dispatching of an armed mercenary group assigned to destabilize another country's government or jeopardize a political process are in violation of recognized principles of international law. Such moves deserve to earn the condemnation of the entire international community, and any effort aimed at legitimization of such a mercenary group and conquest, effect of foreign-sponsored intervention, pose dangerous precedents to international relations. Mr. President, the Taliban qualify as the embodiment of such a mercenary group. In October of 1996, I have adequately introduced the Taliban mercenaries before this August Council, supporting international terrorism and sheltering their financiers, gross and massive violations of human rights, particularly chain lashing of and beating of women, the cultivation, processing, and exportation of narcotics by the Taliban are well known to the distinguished members of the Council. Sadly, one of the new breaches of international humanitarian law committed by the Taliban is a Serbian-style ethnic cleansing involving 140,000 non-Pashtun Afghans, largely reported by the New York Times, and recently both by Dr. Norbert Hall, head of the UN Special Mission, and Dr. Pick, Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Afghanistan. We believe that the latest series of heinous acts constitute crimes of genocide punishable in accordance with relevant conventions. On the 8th of April 1997, Professor Pick presented a report to the Human Rights Commission in Geneva. In his report, he informed the Commission of 250,000 Afghans displaced from their villages since October 1996. The report also briefed the Commission on mass violations of women's rights committed by the Taliban, including a beating of 225 women because they had not met the Taliban dress code. The women of Afghanistan, Mr. President, who comprise more than half of the Afghan population, would like their grievances to be heard by the Security Council. Mr. President, the first sign of ethnic cleansing occurred in Sarchishma, a small village northwest of Kabul, at the time when the Taliban had suffered major setbacks on 23rd October 1996. John Burns of New York Times reminds the readers that the raging of villages had already taken place during the 18 years of war in Afghanistan, but, quote, the twist this time was that the men who destroyed Sarchishma were the turbaned warriors of the Taliban, the ultra-conservative Muslims who have imposed a medieval social order across much of Afghanistan, unquote. Burns continues, quote, the villagers of Sarchishma say 30 Taliban fighters swept in at dawn on Tuesday, October 23rd, then spent several hours pouring canisters of gasoline into the 120 courtyard, one after another, where hundreds of people live. Little remains but buckled bed frames and melted kitchen utensils, unquote. Regarding the January forced exodus of the non-Pashtun civilian population, we have provided early information to the Security Council, document S/1997/S4 of 21st January 1997. Since then, the Taliban have forcefully evicted many other villagers from their homes and farms. The total estimate of victims facing forced eviction has since surpassed 150,000 people. It is the earnest expectation of the Islamic State of Afghanistan that the United Nations will appropriately address these grave violations of international humanitarian law committed by the Taliban. We hope that the United Nations will not spare Taliban advisors, supporters, and financiers. Mr. President, in an identical letter dated April 13, 1997, as recent as yesterday, addressed to His Excellency Secretary General, as well as to Your Excellency, I drew the attention of the Security Council to an alarming situation. According to the reliable accounts, the Taliban mercenaries, heavily reinforced from outside, very recently, have been preparing a massive attack against northern Afghanistan in the next few days. The mobilization of forces reaching Kabul are still continuing. Thousands of militias from outside, whose identity and nationality have been well explained in previous communications addressed to the President of the Security Council and the Secretary General of the United Nations, are part of the mobilization. The Council may recall the involvement of, quote, foreign military personnel, unquote, in the Afghan conflict, which was identified as inadmissible in Resolution 1076 of 22nd October 1996, as well as resolution dated 17 December 1996 of the 51st UN General Assembly. The Islamic State of Afghanistan wishes to request the Security Council to take appropriate preventive measures to halt the onslaught, which otherwise, apart from causing a social catastrophe, will negatively affect the peace process. Mr. President, distinguished members of the Council, we have always emphasized on the need for the existence of a positive regional atmosphere as an important factor for the cessation crisis in Afghanistan. This desire of ours has been well received by all our neighboring states, except one. We are still awaiting to see a change in the stance and attitude of this neighbor towards cooperation, understanding, and participation in all common efforts, including peace initiatives. We are certain that the nation of Pakistan supports non-interference in the internal affairs of Afghanistan and favors friendship and brotherhood with the Afghan nation. By gaining the majority vote in the Pakistani elections, our hopes that Prime Minister Mian Nawaz Sharif would abandon the stance of the former Pakistani administration and shift the Pakistani position on the path of fraternity, good neighborliness, and mutual respect were further strengthened. His Excellency's promise on a reconsideration of the Pakistani policy towards Afghanistan is in a sense indicative of his approval of the Pakistani constituency's preference for friendship, mutual respect, and brotherhood. We hope that the fulfillment of the promise shall assist us in the peace process and curtail the flow of arms and assistance to a group in Afghanistan that wants to impose a draconian military rule. A cessation of cross-border assistance to the Taliban would be a first step towards realization of reconciliation, peace, and stability in our country. If there is any country that fancies of being spared from the ramifications of the flames of war and violence fueled by the Taliban, let us remind everyone that it needs to do some deep thinking. Mr. President, permit me to refer to another factor which has a bearing on the current Afghan situation: the gas and oil pipeline project, titled by the Far Eastern Economic Review of April 10, 1997 as, quote, a new version of Central Asia's 19th century great game, unquote. The Islamic State of Afghanistan is well aware of the outstanding economic significance of the gas and oil pipeline project from Turkmenistan to Pakistan and probably India through the territory of Afghanistan. The significance attached to this project by some industrialized countries and the interest taken by major corporations in the construction of the pipeline have evolved to represent a classic political game and a struggle for the control over the ancient Silk Road, thus signifying a race for securing energy pipelines. This competition, undoubtedly, is about to create major political ramifications, jeopardizing regional peace and stability. We appreciate this historic opportunity. We are ready to reap the benefits of the project only if it serves the supreme interest of Afghanistan. But we cannot afford to be part of a political game because we have suffered enough. What we need is peace. Our salvation depends on our national unity. To achieve that, we need national reconciliation. Construction of the pipeline project should complement peace and reconciliation in Afghanistan and aim to extinguish the flames of war rather than to fuel it. Continued war and violence in Afghanistan would only delay the construction of not only the pipeline project, but also the reconstruction and rehabilitation of our war-shattered homeland. Mr. President, as stated during the ECHO gatherings, and also communicated to Unocal, Delta, and Bredas, the two leading competing corporations for the project, and also in compliance with the Memorandum of Understanding signed between Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan at the Fourth ECHO Summit in May of '96 held in Ashgabat. Afghanistan is of the conviction that the construction of the said project may be best done through a consortium representing